At 4:17 a.m. Greenwich Mean Time on November 9th, 2025, a classified document from the European Space Agency's Deep Space Monitoring Division appeared on encrypted channels accessed by 17 independent research institutions simultaneously. The leak wasn't a hack or a whistleblower operation. The document simply materialized in secure databases as if placed there by an intelligence that understood human information systems better than the engineers who designed them. What that document contained has triggered the most significant scientific crisis in modern history. My name is Dr. Marcus Webb, and in 32 years of astrophysics research, I never imagined I would witness the day when a single leaked document would force the global scientific community to question everything we thought we understood about the object we've been calling 3I Atlas. The leak isn't just revealing new information about this mysterious visitor. It's exposing a coordinated effort by multiple government agencies to suppress data that fundamentally changes our understanding of what 3I Atlas actually is and what it's been doing in our solar system for the past 9 months. Have you ever wondered what it would take to make the world's most prestigious scientific institutions simultaneously demand emergency congressional hearings? Because that's exactly what happened 6 hours after this document went public. The leaked material consists of 847 pages of technical analysis, observation data, and internal communications between space agencies that officially claim they've been sharing all information about 3I Atlas with the public. But the document tells a very different story. It reveals that since March 2025, a coalition of agencies, including NASA, ESA, ROS, COSMOS, and CNSA have been operating under something called the Cosmic Observation Security Protocol, a framework designed to filter and manage what information about 3I Atlas reaches the scientific community and the public. The document's authenticity has been verified by cryptographic analysis that confirms it originated from ESA servers. But here's what makes this leak truly unprecedented. The metadata embedded in the files shows they were accessed and distributed by a source that left no digital fingerprint, no IP address, no login credentials, nothing that would identify who or what placed this information into the hands of researchers worldwide. We're dealing with a leak that appears to have been facilitated by intelligence that operates beyond human information security systems. 3 categories of suppressed information are documented in the leak. First, detailed spectroscopic analysis showing that 3I Atlas is not composed of any materials that exist in our periodic table. Second, behavioral observations demonstrating that the object has been systematically scanning and cataloging every artificial satellite in Earth's orbital space. Third, and most disturbing, evidence that 3I Atlas has been transmitting encrypted communications back toward its origin point using energy signatures that shouldn't be possible according to our understanding of physics. The leak reveals that government agencies have been operating under the assumption that public disclosure of this information would trigger mass panic. But the scientific community is discovering that the real panic should be about what else is being hidden. Within 12 hours of the leak going public, over 400 researchers from 63 countries signed an open letter demanding full disclosure of all data related to 3I Atlas. That number has now exceeded 2,000 scientists, including 3 Nobel laureates and former directors of major space agencies. Let me share what it's like to read through 847 pages of technical documentation that completely contradicts everything the public has been told about 3I Atlas. Page 127 contains spectroscopic data showing that the object's surface exhibits quantum properties that allow it to exist in multiple energy states simultaneously. Our equipment isn't malfunctioning. The object itself is operating according to physics that we don't have equations to describe. Page 341 includes tracking data demonstrating that 3I Atlas has been making micro adjustments to its trajectory that correspond precisely with the orbital paths of classified military satellites. It knows where our secret assets are, and it's been studying them. But the section that kept me awake for 3 consecutive nights begins on page 672. It's an analysis of electromagnetic emissions from 3I Atlas that appear to be modulated in patterns matching human brainwave frequencies. The technical team that prepared this analysis concluded that the object has been broadcasting signals specifically designed to interact with human neurological processes. We're not just being observed, we're being scanned at a cognitive level. The scientific uprising. The response from the global research community has been unprecedented in the history of science. Research institutions that normally compete for funding and publications are now coordinating their efforts to demand transparency from government agencies. Dr. Elizabeth Manning from Cambridge University organized what she's calling the Open Science Coalition, a consortium of researchers who have pledged to share all their observations about 3I Atlas, regardless of government pressure to maintain secrecy. Professor Yuki Tanaka from the Tokyo Institute of Technology held a press conference where he publicly displayed observation data that contradicts official NASA statements about 3I Atlas's composition and behavior. His presentation included thermal imaging showing that the object's surface temperature varies in patterns that suggest active temperature regulation, not passive solar heating. This is technology, not geology. And when confronted about why he was releasing classified information, Professor Tanaka responded with something that has become a rallying cry for researchers worldwide. Science belongs to humanity, not to security agencies. The leak has revealed that several prominent scientists who questioned official narratives about 3I Atlas were subjected to security clearance reviews and funding audits designed to discourage further inquiry. Dr. Robert Chen, a planetary scientist at Caltech, discovered his research grants were being held up by unusual administrative reviews after he published a paper suggesting that 3I Atlas showed signs of intelligent design. The leaked documents contain internal communications showing that his funding delays were coordinated with security agencies concerned about public perception management. Universities are now facing pressure from their own faculty to refuse cooperation with government space agencies unless full data transparency is guaranteed. MIT's Department of Physics issued a statement declaring that they will no longer accept classified contracts related to 3I Atlas unless the research can be published openly. 3 other major institutions have followed suit, creating what amounts to a scientific strike against the secrecy apparatus. The emotional impact on researchers who dedicated their careers to space science cannot be overstated. Dr. Sarah Kim, who spent 15 years working on deep space observation systems, described her reaction to the leak. I thought we were engaged in scientific discovery. Instead, I discover I've been participating in a managed information campaign designed to prevent the public from understanding what we're actually dealing with. The betrayal is profound. We went into science because we believed in truth, and now we're learning that truth has been treated as a security liability. Graduate students working on 3I Atlas-related research are discovering that their dissertations contain data that contradicts what their advisors have been allowed to publish. Young scientists are being forced to choose between career advancement and scientific integrity, between following security protocols and pursuing the truth their training taught them to value above everything else. Several have gone public with their struggles, describing a research environment where curiosity is treated as a security risk, what the leak actually contains. The technical content of the leaked document is as disturbing as the fact that it was suppressed. Section 4 contains detailed analysis of what the document calls gravitational anomalies surrounding 3I Atlas. The object is generating localized distortions in space-time that our instruments can measure, but our physics cannot explain. The gravitational field around 3I Atlas doesn't match its apparent mass. It's as if the object has access to additional dimensions that allow it to manipulate gravity in ways that violate our understanding of general relativity. The document includes calculations showing that these gravitational effects have been subtly influencing the orbits of objects throughout the inner solar system. Nothing catastrophic, but measurable changes that suggest 3I Atlas has been actively adjusting the mechanical dynamics of our planetary neighborhood. The technical team that prepared this analysis concluded that the object possesses technology that allows it to manipulate fundamental forces with precision that seems impossible given the energy requirements involved. Section 7 of the leak contains something even more remarkable: high-resolution imaging data showing that the surface of 3I Atlas is not static. It reconfigures. Structures that appear in one set of observations are replaced by completely different geometric patterns in subsequent imaging. The object is changing its physical configuration in response to stimuli we can't identify. One researcher described it as watching a machine that rebuilds itself continuously, adapting its form to purposes we're not sophisticated enough to understand. The communications analysis in Section 9 reveals that 3I Atlas has been transmitting data bursts toward a region of space approximately 1,200 light-years from Earth. The energy signatures used in these transmissions suggest technology that can project information across interstellar distances instantaneously, completely bypassing the speed of light limitations that govern all human communication systems. But here's the truly unsettling detail. The transmission frequency has been increasing. Whatever 3I Atlas is reporting back to, it's been providing increasingly detailed updates. The biological analysis section contains data that most researchers assumed didn't exist. 3I Atlas has been releasing microscopic particles into the solar wind, particles that contain structures resembling DNA but operating according to completely different biochemical principles. These particles have been detected in Earth's upper atmosphere, and while they don't appear to be harmful to human biology, their purpose remains completely unknown. Some researchers speculate they might be sampling systems designed to collect information about terrestrial biochemistry. But perhaps the most explosive revelation in the leak involves what the document calls the companion objects. You remember those smaller bodies traveling near 3I Atlas that were initially dismissed as debris or natural fragments? The leaked analysis proves they're nothing of the kind. Each companion object is an independent technological system with specific functions: manufacturing, observation, communication relay, and something the document classifies as environmental modification systems. We're not dealing with a single visitor. We're dealing with an entire fleet of specialized machines. The document includes detailed tracking data showing that these companion objects have been separating from 3I Atlas and taking up positions throughout the solar system. As of the leak's date, 14 separate companion objects have been identified at locations ranging from Mars' orbit to the asteroid belt. They're establishing what appears to be a network, a distributed system of observation and communication nodes that give 3I Atlas comprehensive awareness of activity throughout the inner solar system. The government response. Official reactions to the leak have been a mixture of denial, damage control, and barely contained panic. NASA issued a statement within 4 hours, claiming that the leaked document contains outdated analysis mixed with theoretical speculation that was never intended for public release. But that explanation collapsed when independent researchers verified that the observation data in the leak matches their own measurements to within instrument error margins. The agencies aren't disputing the data because they can't. The European Space Agency held a press conference where Director General Marie Dubois attempted to explain that information management protocols were designed to prevent misinterpretation of complex data by non-specialists. Her explanation was met with open hostility from the assembled journalists and scientists. One reporter asked directly, "Are you suggesting that the global scientific community is not qualified to analyze data that your organization has been interpreting in secret?" Director Dubois had no satisfactory answer. Behind closed doors, the response has been far more revealing. The leaked document itself contains internal communications showing that space agency leadership has been deeply divided about the suppression strategy. Several senior scientists within NASA argued for full public disclosure, expressing concerns that the secrecy was undermining scientific credibility and potentially preventing the global research community from contributing to understanding 3I Atlas. Their concerns were overruled by security advisors, who argued that public panic was a greater risk than scientific criticism. Congressional hearings have been scheduled in the United States, with similar parliamentary inquiries announced in the European Union, Japan, and Australia. Legislators are demanding to know what legal authority was used to classify scientific observation data as matters of national security. The jurisdictional questions are complicated. Who has the authority to declare that data about an object in solar orbit should be kept secret? Under what legal framework can governments prevent scientists from publishing their own observations? Military officials testifying in classified sessions have reportedly argued that 3I Atlas represents a potential security threat that justifies information control. But the leaked document itself undermines that argument by showing that security agencies have been more concerned about public reaction than about any actual threat from 3I Atlas. The object hasn't demonstrated hostile intent. It's simply demonstrated capabilities that make our military technology look primitive by comparison, and that technological inferiority appears to be what security agencies really wanted to hide. The leak has also exposed coordination between government space agencies and major media organizations to manage coverage of 3I Atlas. Internal communications show that certain news outlets were provided with preferred narratives and encouraged to avoid speculation about the object's intelligent origin or technological capabilities. Several journalists have now come forward describing pressure they received to frame 3I Atlas stories in ways that minimized public concern. The relationship between scientific institutions, government agencies, and media organizations has been revealed as far more coordinated than the public previously understood. What this means for trust in science. The long-term damage to public confidence in scientific institutions may be the most significant consequence of this leak. For generations, scientific research has been presented as an objective, transparent process where evidence determines conclusions, and those conclusions are shared openly with the world. The leak reveals that when it comes to the most important scientific discovery in human history, that idealized process was completely abandoned. Dr. James Morrison, a science communication specialist at Oxford, described the credibility crisis in stark terms. We've spent decades fighting against anti-science movements that claim researchers are hiding information or manipulating data to serve government agendas. Now, we have documented proof that in the case of 3I Atlas, those conspiracy theories were actually true. The damage to scientific authority will take generations to repair. Young people interested in science careers are discovering that the institutions they admired have been operating under political constraints that compromise the fundamental principles of open inquiry. Educational institutions are struggling to explain to students how the scientific method is supposed to work when the most significant scientific event of our time has been managed through information suppression rather than open investigation. Philosophy of science courses are using the 3I Atlas leak as a case study in how political and security considerations can corrupt the research process. But the discussions are uncomfortable because they force educators to acknowledge that the idealized version of science they teach doesn't match the reality of how science actually operates when it intersects with government power. The leak has also revealed deep divisions within the scientific community itself. Some researchers argue that security agencies had legitimate reasons for managing information about 3I Atlas, that panic prevention and social stability are valid concerns that sometimes require limiting public disclosure. Other scientists view any suppression of observational data as a fundamental betrayal of scientific principles. These divisions are playing out in professional journals, conference presentations, and departmental meetings worldwide. The scientific community is being forced to have a conversation it has been avoiding. What responsibilities do scientists have when their discoveries have social implications that might be destabilizing? Public trust in expert authority has been declining for years, fueled by conspiracy theories and misinformation. The 3I Atlas leak provides ammunition for those who argue that official sources cannot be trusted. If space agencies lied about this, what else are they hiding? Becomes a question that researchers cannot easily dismiss because in this case, the agencies really were hiding information. The conspiracy theorists were right, and that validation will have consequences that extend far beyond discussions about 3I Atlas. The technical implications. Beyond the political and social dimensions, the leaked technical data forces a complete reassessment of what 3I Atlas actually represents. The gravitational manipulation capabilities described in the document suggest technology that operates on principles we don't even have theoretical frameworks to explain. Our most advanced physics treats gravity as a fundamental force that emerges from the geometry of spacetime. But 3I Atlas appears to be treating gravity as something that can be actively manipulated, adjusted, and controlled in real time. The energy requirements for the communications technology described in the leak are staggering. To transmit information instantaneously across interstellar distances requires either faster than light communication, which violates causality as we understand it, or some method of transmitting information through dimensions or frameworks that exist outside normal spacetime. Either possibility suggests that our understanding of the universe's fundamental structure is incomplete in ways that make our current physics look like a rough approximation of reality. The self-reconfiguring surface structures documented in the leak imply materials science far beyond anything human technology can produce. We can create materials that respond to environmental conditions, shape memory alloys, and smart materials that change properties under specific stimuli. But 3I Atlas appears to be made of substances that can fundamentally restructure their atomic arrangements to create completely different physical properties. It's not adapting within fixed parameters. It's rebuilding itself at a molecular or possibly atomic level. The biological sampling particles raise questions that researchers are only beginning to formulate. If 3I Atlas is collecting information about Earth's biochemistry, what is it looking for? Is it simply gathering scientific data, or is it assessing something specific about terrestrial life? The particles don't appear to be harmful, but their presence in Earth's atmosphere means that whatever intelligence designed 3I Atlas has been sampling our biosphere without our knowledge or consent. We're being studied like specimens in an experiment we didn't know we were part of. The companion object network described in the leak suggests planning and coordination on timescales that human civilization doesn't think in. These objects didn't just happen to be traveling with 3I Atlas. They were brought here for specific purposes, deployed to specific locations, and activated according to a timeline that suggests their mission was planned long before they arrived in our solar system. We're seeing the implementation phase of a project that was designed before human beings had invented writing. Personal reflections on the crisis. I need to share what it's been like to be part of the scientific community during this crisis. When I first read through the leaked document, my immediate reaction was anger. Anger at the agencies that suppressed this information, anger at colleagues who must have known about the suppression and remained silent, anger at myself for not questioning the official narratives more aggressively. We're supposed to be skeptics, trained to question authority and demand evidence. But when it came to 3I Atlas, many of us simply accepted what we were told. My research team spent 6 months developing models to explain 3I Atlas's trajectory and composition based on publicly available data. Now, I discover that we were working with incomplete information, analyzing a puzzle where critical pieces were deliberately withheld. Our conclusions weren't wrong because of bad science. They were wrong because we weren't given access to the data we needed. Every paper we published, every presentation we made was based on a managed subset of reality.